We have more great racing from Texas, this time from the world of outlaws and all-stars. Past champions slice and dice on the dirt.
Quality, not quantity. That's how the Indy Racing League views concerns about its car count. While in F1, leaders set the record straight about driver help technology, qualifying, and the Hans device.
We'll also meet two young brothers with open-wheel bloodlines carrying on a racing family tradition in USAC.
And we'll show you the guest list for the prestigious 24 Hours of Le Mans, plus some short tracking from Florida, and see Ducati riders go for another sweep. It's right now on Speed News. Minutes to go tonight. Welcome on into our racing world. I'm Rick Benjamin.
And I'm Bob Barsha. We're on the clock here on Speed News Sunday, so let's rock. During the offseason, the IRL IndyCar Series welcomed several teams from the rival Kart Champ Car Tour. Fields of more than 30 Indy cars were predicted, but the season opener in Florida saw just 21 entries, and the Indy 500 may see its smallest entry in decades. Still, Series VP of Operations Brian Barnhart says he's happy.
I'm not totally unhappy with the quantity. If you're just going to add a car just to have a car out there and it's not a quality piece, there's no reason to have it out there. You need something that adds value to the field, and right now we've got a great increase in quality, great competition on track. The additional manufacturers in Toyota and Honda joining Chevrolet, I don't think they're as weak as a lot of people like to make them out to be. There are plenty of things available for them to do within the framework of our rules. They'll continue to find more horsepower, and Chevrolet, just like they say, they'll be there for it. So we have no intention of doing anything to change our rules. They are set and established for the entire season. All the manufacturers are going to play under the same. We won't have any equivalency rules or anything to try and level the playing field. Our rules are level to begin with. The onus is on the manufacturers to compete.
One of the IRL's top drivers, though, will be on the shelf the next several weeks. Gilles de Ferran will miss the IndyCar Tour's first ever trip to Twin Ring Motegi in mid-April. De Ferran suffering another concussion and a slight fracture in his lower back in this late race wreck with Michael Andretti at Phoenix last week. The two tangled down into one. They were fighting for fifth with 13 to go. De Ferran can't go at Motegi, so it'll be Alex Barron, who drove two races for Penske in '99. He'll fill in for De Ferran there. Barron was fifth in IRL points last year, winning at Nashville. He was fourth at Indy, 11 top tens for Blair Racing. Tim Cindric says they want to make sure De Ferran is healthy for the month of May at Indianapolis.
99 IndyCar champion Greg Ray will return to the series for that next round of Motegi, Japan next month. Ray is now part owner of Access Motorsports, which has purchased Indianapolis-based Blair Racing. Ray has 5 wins and a series record 13 poles, including quick time at the 2000 Indy 500. He'll drive the only Honda Panos G-Force combination in the series. We caught up with him last week in Phoenix.
Some of the numbers that we wanted weren't available. We did choose finally on number 13, and so you know, we've had some difficult times getting our program up and running, and we've had lots of obstacles to overcome. That wasn't our goal to have Motegi as our first race. Obviously, we wanted to be at Homestead, and again, we had some issues there, and couldn't get the car technically prepared to be here for this race. So going into the Indy 500, we definitely want to have as much running under our belt.
Look for a new player on the engine front in the IndyCar Series. This week, the Menard Cheever Technologies Company, co-owned by IRL team owners John Menard and Eddie Cheever Jr., acquired TWR Engines, a part of entrepreneur Tom Walkinshaw's troubled racing empire that includes the now defunct Arrows Formula One team. TWR built the Infinity engines previously used by Cheever's team. The newly renamed MCT UK will operate out of the TWR shops in England.
Some changes and clarifications this week from the FIA before Formula One heads to Brazil next weekend. Driver assist technology is still in play. The FIA telling teams Friday that full enforcement of their ban on launch control, traction control, and fully automatic gearboxes won't begin until next year. The delay due to uncertainty over possible protests by some F1 teams of the ban. The FIA says if that issue isn't resolved, teams will have to prove at each race next year their cars don't carry the banned technology. The FIA also reminding F1 drivers and teams all drivers have to wear the Hans device, like it or not. FIA officials say safety gains from the Hans are so great that if a driver doesn't want to use one, he'll have to be replaced, although teams can modify the device for their drivers if the FIA's Safety Commission approves. And a pretty interesting squabble taking shape within F1. Series Chief Bernie Eccleston says he doesn't like the new single-car qualifying, as in NASCAR and IndyCar. Bernie wants to see things go back to the way they were with multi-car qualifying. McLaren boss Ron Dennis agrees and says F1 needs to be largely a technical exercise and not a show. The FIA's president, Max Mosley, does like the new rule, wants it to continue. No changes for now, but Bernie says change should come soon. And, of course, you can see all the action of the third round of the F1 season right here on Speed. Provisional qualifying at noon Eastern Friday, final qualifying Saturday, also at noon Eastern. The Grand Prix of Brazil is live here next Sunday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. F1, of course, lives on Speed.
Now here at Speed Channel, we're asking for your help in selecting the Driver of the Year, including the quarterly winners, and moving all the way to the final Driver of the Year for 2003, who will be crowned on a special program here on Speed at year end. In a moment, we'll tell you how to vote. Right now, let's meet the first quarter nominees. Here are the choices of the nationwide media panel, beginning with NASCAR Winston Cup star Matt Kenseth. Coming into the weekend, he posted top 10s in every race but Daytona, winning in Las Vegas and topping the points for the last 3 races. Also in the running, Kenseth's teammate Kurt Busch with 3 second-place finishes, including that one by inches to Bobby Labonte at Darlington. Kurt also won at Bristol and stands second to Kenseth in the points. From the Champ Cars, Paul Tracy, undefeated through 2 races thus far in 2003 after starting both from the front row. The championship leader is off to a great start despite changing teams in the offseason. In the IRL IndyCar Series, Tony Kanaan has won 2 straight poles and a victory last week in Phoenix. He leads that championship and made Michael Andretti a winner in only his second race as a car owner. In drag racing, Brandon Bernstein has made a seamless transition to the high-pressure Bud top fueler, driven to history by his father Kenny. 3 events, 2 wins, both over the national champ, who's a rookie. Michael Waltrip picked up a lucky win in the Daytona 500, but hey, a win's a win. Since then, Mikey has 2 other top 5s and $1.8 million in purses won. And Danny the Dude Lasowski began the year with an impressive 3rd in the IROC opener at Daytona. Since then, he's been winning races and holding off Steve Kinser for the points lead in the O'Reilly World of Outlaws. Now, here's where you folks at home come in. Go to speedtv.com, click on the Driver of the Year banner, and cast your vote. I'm honored to sit on the media voting panel, and your votes will be counted when we make our first quarterly choice on April 16th. And, of course, we'll announce the winner here on Speed News.
The King, the Dude, and the Chad. 3 sprint car champions take turns at the front of the pack. The All-Stars take it on the Outlaws in Texas. We'll have Saturday's highlights on Speed News.
Then a USAC family affair. 2 young men whose father and grandfathers have hundreds of wins try to carve out racing careers of their own.
Time to sling some mud, put that right rear up on the cushion.
That's right, but make sure you're belted in tightly when the Outlaws and the All-Stars get together. Final night of the U.S. Air Force Showdown at the dirt track at Texas Motor Speedway. Steve Kinser and Danny Lasowski on the front row. And just as he did in Friday night's prelim, Kinser sweeps into the early lead. But the King went to the high line early. The Dude stayed low, and on lap 2, he moved by into the point. Lap 5, reigning All-Stars champ Chad Kemena's new fool. He saw that low line working, so he used it to pass both Kinser and Lasowski to take over the lead. But Lasowski stuck to his guns, and 6 laps later, he used the outside lane to grab the point back from Kemena. Lasowski led from there until lap 31 when Kinser caught him up high and put this slide job on the Dude to grab the lead and close the door. Kinser ran out the laps from there to complete the weekend main event sweep worth 20 grand, after which Lasowski came over to offer hugs and props. Dude leads King by 4 in the standings.
Topless sprint cars, the SCRA, 2 features last night at Paris in Southern California. First to make up from early in the month, Mike English leading into green. Troy Rutherford, the early leader, but by lap 2, the gas man, Richard Griffin in the red 50, under Rutherford for the lead. 10 laps later, he bobbles. Rutherford takes over again with 3 to go. Rodney Argo brings out the yellow. Damian Gardner up in second. Gardner gets the drop on the restart on the high side. He will grab his first victory of the year. Gardner across the line, leading Steve Ostling and Mike English, Rutherford 4th. At the finish. Then the nightcap, regularly scheduled main. Mike English again on the pole, but it's Adam Mitchell from the outside, the early leader in the 99. USAC regular Levi Jones in the red 38 underneath Mitchell to take over on lap 4. He would lead until there were 6 laps to go when Bobby Cody flips, brings out a red flag. On the restart, though, Jones has problems, can't get going. This is Rip Williams in the black Jory 3 car on the bottom. He goes to the front, and Williams rolls to his first win of the year. He is SCRA's career leader in main event wins. Griffin and Levi Jones take 2nd and 3rd at Paris last night.
At Placerville Speedway in California last night, Tim Kading came from 4th starting spot to win a yellow flag marred feature on the Golden State Challenge Tour. Roger Crockett did most of the evening's leading, but finished 2nd. Jason Statler came home 3rd.
Well, the USAC National Tours are mostly off this weekend. The midgets in California. The National Sprint Cars open next Saturday night at Eldora, a race you'll see here on Speed. One name you know well is back in the USAC box scores this year, the Carter name. Brothers Dane and Cole Carter running midgets and in Silver Crown. Their dad, Pancho, was the USAC midget champ back in '72. These third-generation drivers say they're just doing what comes naturally.
Being a Carter and growing up around racing, being here is probably the only place I would ever think for me to be.
He ran a few Silver Crown races about the time I was born, a couple years after that, but really remember more about going to the IndyCar races and doing a little bit of stock car stuff. He kind of done the midgets and sprint cars before I was born.
Dwayne Carter Jr., better known as Pancho, is himself the son of a racer. Now Dwayne sees his boys driving the familiar blue and orange machines around America's short tracks.
I enjoy being able to go racing with the boys.
Sometimes it's hard to tell the Carters apart on the racetrack. 24-year-old Dane drives the number 77, while his baby brother Cole, who's barely out of his teens, pilots the 7 car. And they're not afraid to challenge one another.
I think they're real good. I mean, we run a very limited schedule. We run just as many races as we can afford to, so we really don't have the budget that a lot of these other teams have, and I think the boys do an exceptional job with I give them maybe 2 sets of tires each racetrack we go, and a lot of these other teams they'll put on 3 or 4 sets during a race weekend. So I think that they do an excellent job. They both work on their own cars. I work on them at the racetrack only because they have to do the driving, and a lot of times they have to get out and do the work on them too to get it done right. And like I said, I don't do all the work on them, they do. So I'm really proud of what they're doing, the way they're able to run as well as they do.
We're a good team. He just wants to win like everybody else, and we're just the same way as he is, but he's always there. He really wants to win, so he's always making sure we have the same mindset, so we want to win just as bad as he does.
Dane's first win came in August 2000, driving a midget at Winchester. Some might think he and Cole are looking to follow Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, or Ryan Newman and go from USAC to NASCAR. But Dane would prefer to follow his dad's career path.
I definitely like to wind up at the Speedway and run the IRL series, and feel like he did, maybe dabble a little bit in NASCAR, but definitely this 500 is where I like to make my home at. Both my grandfathers have raced there and Dad had raced there, so I definitely want to go do the IRL thing.
There's just as many opportunities either place, and I think they're both capable enough to drive either one of those type of cars.
Dane Carter talked about both his grandfathers running at Indy. The other grandfather was 1950 winner Johnny Parsons Sr. Pancho's dad, Dwayne Sr., made 11 starts at the Brickyard, finished 4th in 1952. But his son, Pancho, may have been the most accomplished of them all. Pancho started 17 times at Indy, won the pole in '85. He was 3rd in '82. He has Sprint and Silver Crown championships in USAC to go with his midget title. He's one of only 3 USAC drivers to ever win the Triple Crown. Dave Darland and Tony Stewart, who won all 3 of his in the same year, are the others.
Motorcycle road racing is up next. We'll have highlights of today's World Superbike doubleheader in Australia.
And later, stock cars on the short track, courtesy of the Hooters Pro Cup Series.
The World Superbike Championship visited the Phillip Island circuit outside Melbourne, Australia this weekend, where most of the field arrived still reeling from the double 1-2 smackdown delivered by factory Ducati riders Neil Hodgson and Ruben Zaus in the season opener in Spain. Hodgson led away from pole in race 1, but the yellow 7 of Pier Francesco Chili outbrakes him on the outside, takes over the lead. Moments later, though, Hodgson came right back and just powered by the privateer Duke to retake the point. Chili scored no points in Spain and none in race 1 down under as his engine let go, trying to hang at Hodgson's pace. Despite 3 crashes in practice, Zaus was on the gas, coming from 8th on the grid to pass both number 9 Chris Walker and 10 Gregorio Lavilla to get to 2nd by lap 13. But Lavilla, 4th in points, countered a lap later and takes that spot back. With 3 to go and Hodgson 8 seconds up the road, Zaus wasn't done. He claimed the inside line with 3 left and took Lavilla. At the tape, Hodgson claimed his 3rd straight win, Zaus 2nd for the 3rd time, with Lavilla 3rd. On to race 2 of the day. Picking up on lap 3, Hodgson leading Keeley, Chris Walker, and Regis Laconi, all on Ducatis. This time, Hodgson can't pull away from the rest. Lap 5 now, Suzuki mounted Lavilla, gets to the inside of Keeley and claims 2nd, setting his sights on the leader. Meanwhile, Zaus started 8th again. Here he gets both Walker and Lavilla on lap 6 for 2nd place. No team orders here. Zaus all over Hodgson for the lead, takes over with 5 laps to go. Next lap, Neil has that streak of 3 wins to defend, so he grabs the lead back on the straight. Despite all his efforts, Zaus could not get back by. Hodgson wins by 0.07 of a second. Behind them now, Keeley nips both Laconi and James Toslin at the line for 3rd. Neil Hodgson, a perfect 4 for 4 in 2003.
Well, the AMA Supercrossers in action in Houston this weekend. 12th event of this year's championship. Show you what happened last night. Dominator Ricky Carmichael fell twice. Came back to finish second, though, behind Chad Reed, who wins his fourth 250cc main of the year. He's now just 19 points behind Carmichael for the championship. Ernesto Fonseca, Carmichael's Honda teammate, finishing third. Brock Sellards won the 125s on a Yamaha at the Lions Stadium in Houston last night. His second win of the year. His teammate Ivan Tedesco finished second last night.
Two young Americans are gearing up for the FIA Formula 3000 season. Former Indy Lights champion Townsend Bell is with the defending team champions from Arden Racing. And Derek Hill, son of world champion Phil Hill, will drive for the Supernova team that carried Sebastian Bourdais to last year's title. Both were in the top 5 in recent testing in Spain. You'll see the entire 3000 season live here on Speed starting April 19th at Imola, Italy.
War with Iraq or no war, the world's top road racing teams are making their travel plans for France now because the 80th renewal of the 24 Hours of Le Mans comes up in mid-June. This week, the ACO inviting 50 teams to compete at Le Sarthe. Team Yost won't be back after winning 3 straight. The focus instead on the Bentley Speed 8 GTPs, their third run at Le Mans this year. They were fast at Sebring a few weeks ago, but not as fast for as long as the one Yost Audi. This might be the year, though, for the Bentleys at Le Mans. The factory Lola MGs will not return this year. Bentley working on their pit stops. The John Fields Intersport team, which won the 675 category at Petit Le Mans last fall, they'll bring their Lola for the first time. Some European teams also will be tough. The factory Corvettes will defend their GTS championship with much the same driver lineup, headed by Ron Fellows, Johnny O'Connell, and Ollie Gavin. The Pro Drive Ferraris, they'll have 2 of them this year, should be formidable. And at GT, Kevin Buckler's Racers Group Porsche, the defending champions, but ALMS champs Alex Joe Bracing will make their first visit to Le Mans, and they will be tough. The breakdown by country, the U.S. will send 14 teams to Le Mans. France the same. 11 British teams will join in, with 3 each from Germany, Japan, and the Netherlands. Denmark and Italy will send 1 team each. You'll see coverage of the 80th 24 Hours of Le Mans right here on Speed. And the Grand American Road Race Series will remain here on Speed Channel for the next several years. The series and the network extending their exclusive television deal through 2006. Now, the pact calls for at least 6 events live here next year, 7 in 2005, 8 in 2006, including at least 12 hours of live coverage from the season-opening Rolex 24 at Daytona. And the deal also includes continuing coverage of the Grand Am Cup Series here on Speed.
Last year's USAR Hooters Pro Cup 250 lapper at New Smyrna Speedway in Florida saw Bobby Gill's 3rd career season-opening victory. Saturday night at New Smyrna hosted round 3 of the season, but once again, Gill was in mid-season form. At the start, Marty Lindley gets the jump on pole sitter Jason Sarvis and defending champ Clay Rogers. It was a short day for Tony Amico in the 07, who hit the wall on lap 18. Tough break, game over. 7 laps later, more trouble. Keith Rogan and Billy Mowry get together. The 31 of Vince Ferrello fails to clear the wreckage. Red flag. Lap 48, more carnage. 73 Corey Rubel puts the squeeze on Mowry and suffers for it. Lap 85, Steve Christian has an up-close moment with the wall. He's done. Now back to the front. 15, Lindley on the outside goes side by side with Rogers, who led through lap 109. That's when rookie Billy Mowry took over in the blue 33 to the outside. When Bobby Gill in the black number 5 picks up the lead on lap 129, behind him the wrecking continued. Points leader Shane Huffman, Mark Nesbitt, and David Stover in on that one. Later, this hard hit by Dave Plesher brought out another red flag. Gill stayed out front and held off Huffman and Mario Gosselin to repeat as Pro Cup winner at New Smyrna.
And there is plenty of racing ahead this coming weekend, too, as NASCAR heads off to Talladega.
As we head for the break, we'll offer up a lap around our Advanced Auto Parts racing calendar.
Speed News is brought to you by Circuit City. We know the excitement you feel about the latest digital toys. That's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you.
Top Fuel driver Andrew Cowan continues his remarkable recovery tonight. Doctors reportedly told Cowan's parents to prepare for the worst after the Australian suffered a fractured skull in a 15-foot headfirst fall from a crane onto a parking lot at a hotel near Bristol Raceway in Tennessee on Wednesday. He'd apparently climbed that crane to take photographs. Saturday night, Cowan was released from intensive care at the Johnson City Medical Center and assigned his own room. The 23-year-old Cowan, whose career bests of 4.49 seconds and 328 miles an hour in the Darrell Gwynn New York Yankees top fueler, makes him Australia's fastest racer. He's currently driving for the Carrier Boys team, owned by the sons of former Bristol track owner Larry Carrier. Get well, Andrew.
Well, Cowan and the Carrier Boys were planning to go racing this weekend in the IHRA Hooters Drag Racing Series event at Rockingham Raceway here in North Carolina, but as it turns out, no one went racing. The finals were slated for today, but the Spring Nationals rained out. They'll be run in October, the day before the IHRA's World Finals in mid-October. Qualifying was set, though. Defending IHRA Top Fuel champ Clay Millican on pole at 4.697 seconds, 295.79 miles an hour. Mitch Stott, the top qualifier in Pro Modified, a 6.156 second pass in his Corvette at more than 227 miles an hour. Rob Atchison tops in Funny Car, a 5.831 at 238.47 miles an hour. And Pro Stock Pete Berner on the pole with his Mustang, a 6.538 at 211.53 miles an hour. But they'll have to wait till October to go racing.
What a great ticket. I get 2 sets of
There
final
you go.
eliminations. Way to go. Now, don't forget, we need you to go vote for your choice for the first quarter winner of Driver of the Year. Just go to speedtv.com, click on the Driver of the Year banner, and cast your vote. I guarantee that your vote will count when we get together to decide the first quarter winner of Driver of the Year. And it's going to be tough because it's a long way between now and mid-April.
And you can't write in Hobbs' name. I don't care how much he pays you. No chance.
Sorry, David. That's it for this final March edition of Speed News Sunday. We'll see you at the racetrack. I'm Bob Varsha.
I'm Rick Benjamin. We'll be back here next weekend. Have a great week.
Speed News is presented by Circuit City. For motorsports coverage when you want it, log on to speedtv.com.